Hey everyone, I'll be moderating this panel on catching the next crypto unicorn. Alongside me, I have a lot of amazing pioneering investors who have done very well, being very brave and chasing the crypto market before pretty much the whole world caught on to it. And to provide a brief intro of myself, and I'll just go down the list. I am an individual investor. I bought Bitcoin early in 2013. I've been watching the space every year, and I've always had an entrepreneurial edge to myself. I sold my first company when I was 19 to Procter & Gamble. It was a SaaS enterprise chat software. And pretty much just dropped everything I was doing to chase the ICO market and to learn more about it. It's been an incredibly rewarding experience. It was difficult to break into it. I was just a Bitcoin and Ethereum hodler because I figured it was very hard to get access to good ICOs. But I learned quickly that in the crypto market, if you're nice to people and pay it forward and network, there's a way into this industry. So a lot of these people next to me are my personal friends, and I'm personally an advisor to a number of projects: Corkchain, Metadium, Orgo, and a few more. I'm an individual investor. And please introduce yourself and tell us what you do in the space.
Hi, my name is Lasse Clausen. I'm the founding partner of 1KX. We're like a very early stage token fund based in Berlin. We are two partners, former software entrepreneurs, who we're pretty excited about the space for founders. We had a lot of VC meetings before. It was very difficult to raise money for founders. Investors were sort of in the, they had this like impress me attitude, and now there's a lot of money chasing very good founders, so we like the space for that. We're very technical. I think similar to like the Berlin ecosystem, it's very technical. It doesn't really invest in dApps yet. And I think some of the things we invested into was Zilliqa. I think that was, we were lucky to speak with them before kind of it got all the momentum. We invested in something called LivePeer, which is distributed video transcoding and transmission network, also very technical, and a few other things.
Hi everyone, I'm Yubo. I'm the founder of 8Decimal. So we started this company in last year. And the reason we got this name called 8Decimal is because Bitcoin have 8 decimal places, which is the smallest units that you can divide. And that unit is called Satoshi. That's why we got a name, because we have a huge belief into the cryptocurrencies and all the blockchain technology. So I personally start off with technical background. I do programming and I do hardware since I was very young, like 9-year-old or 10-year-old. And went to different competitions, and then start making some small robots, and then making some projects to solve a problem in the society. And after that, I started a company in China, and then some of them, I started two companies. One works pretty well, another one doesn't really work out. And then we went to the US. I started a fund, and then do early stage venture investments, all this equity deal. And after that, we start that crypto fund. And in the last year, we are pretty lucky that we capture a lot of the unicorns in this space. And now we're expanding our teams, and then we have industry-focused investments. So not only the projects in that use blockchain, but also the ecosystem that support them. And I think that's pretty much what we've done before. And all of this are good friends, and then they're done pretty well in this space. So.
Yeah, hi guys. I'm Kevin, the founder of BlockVC. BlockVC is a leading blockchain investment and advisory firm, and we mainly focus on projects, tokens, and ventures related to blockchain technologies. And we also provide some secondary market service like market making and asset management for our investors and projects. And we expect that all our portfolio have the potential to become the next crypto unicorn in the blockchain ecosystem, and also in the next generation internet. And today, some of the portfolios like Corkchain, NKN, and Selling Network has given you the keynote speech, and I think They are really, really good projects. Yeah.
Thank you. Hey guys, I'm Leon from Node Capital. And Node Capital was founded in 2016. And for now, we have invested over 160 blockchain startups. And we have invested exchanges and blockchain media company, wallet, and IT service provider. And we are the fifth largest shareholder of Hobby.com, and we are the controlling shareholder of Jinse.com, which is the #1 blockchain media in China. And most of the time, we are focused on the technical layer of the blockchain, because we believe that for now, it's still a very early age of the blockchain industry, and it still need a long way to go for the dApps. So for now, we mainly focus on the publishing and protocol layer. That's all. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks everyone. So I want to keep this panel interesting and not keep everyone really bored. So I just want to take this opportunity that the audience could really dig into the minds of some of these investors and learn and kind of think about how they look at deals and what's the thought process for what are your top deals. So first question is, how did you end up investing in crypto, and what is your first crypto unicorn that you invested in? So a unicorn in angel investing is when you invest in a startup that is worth over $1 billion in valuation. But to be clear, if you go to CoinMarketCap, all the valuations that you see are based on circulating supply. So actually, the total network valuation for a lot of these projects are much, much, much higher, and they're worth billions of dollars, overnight. So anyway, please tell us how you invested in crypto and a crypto unicorn that you've invested in.
Maybe I'll start. So I was living in Berlin. Berlin had the first street in the world where every store you could pay with Bitcoin. And the very, very first shop was a restaurant, a burger place called Room 77. And so I try out what it was like to pay with Bitcoin. And I think this was in 2011. And yeah, also at that time, there was no way to pay with a mobile phone in the world. And it was this first place. And I just heard from Brian from Epicenter. He was actually part of that people used to come with a laptop and then manually type in the Bitcoin address to pay for the burgers. So they said, okay, we have to build a mobile wallet. And so the first mobile wallet was built in Berlin. And you basically, what's now easy, you just scan the QR code, you punch in your PIN code, and then you paid. At that time, also, Bitcoin was very, very fast and cheap to pay with. So it was good for that. But I didn't really believe in Bitcoin as a payment system. And then I met some people from Ethereum in 2013. And that really convinced me. So I think that was my first sort of unicorn investment was Ethereum. Yeah.
So from our fund, we actually capture a few unicorns in this market, because we have a team in Beijing and another team in SF. I think there's a few. So recently there's a very hot project. It's called Fcoin. They went from 1 cent to $1 in about 30 days. So their total net worth value is about 10 billion in shorter period of time. And we have a few investments, such as 0x, which is one of the unicorns in the decentralized exchange landscape. And then we did Icon in Korea. And then we have Ontology that in China, it's very, very large projects. And we have a few, in some of them probably like Kyber Network, or Blue. Maybe some of them already is unicorn, some of them are not. I'm not too sure on their total network value, but I think definitely there are a few of them like 100x, 50x, and 20, in both area, like in China and the US, and some of them in Korea.
Yeah. Okay. Actually, in terms of the performance or returns, actually, Bitcoins and Ethereum bring us the majority of our returns, indeed. But for the ICOs, actually, my first investment is crypto unicorn is called Qten. In 2016, and Boshan from Fenbush Capital told me that Qten is a really good project, and take a look. I found that ICO is really a special financial structure, so I get involved and really have a very good return. And after that, we have invested VChain, and it's about 100 times return in the secondary market. And also we have invested Tron, but Tron also give us a huge return, but we still don't know the reason, and because it is not a fundamental value investment. And this, yeah, indeed, yeah. So yeah, but okay. So actually, in last year, these three projects give us the best performance, and in the long term, I think the value investment is more important because the market condition is not as good as the last year. So we will keep doing that.
Okay. Since we have already invested over 160 blockchain startups, so we have a lot of unicorns. But actually, if you really want we talk the truth about the projects, I think I have to say that we have invested a lot of startups. They are the founders and all technically background. So. They have no idea about marketing, so maybe for the short term they are undervalued, and I believe that in the future they will be some kind of a unicorn. But I think for those kind of projects, we really need a long term for these projects to really show their potential. Yeah.
So. The crypto space and crypto investing is still really, really, really early, where it's really confusing to how to even invest in crypto. Like, a lot of investors still don't know what's a good project and what's a good product and what's a good investment at all. What's your criteria for some of the projects that you like? What are some of the product categories that catch your attention right away? And what are some of the investments that you think are probably the weakest?
So we think it's very, very early. If you compare this to the internet, I think investment-wise, people think it's like the 90s. There's a lot of kind of speculation and things. I think technically it's actually the 80s. So imagine like AOL.com cannot send any data to Yahoo.com, right? So this is where we're at. So we're very early, and it's probably not time for an Airbnb on the blockchain, et cetera, yet. And so we generally invest in very, very technical core infrastructure and protocols. And so that is very difficult. So I think it's very easy to just look at the founding teams. And if there's like more than one business person in the team, it's probably not the right team. I mean, these are very difficult things. You need and I think we've seen this as people now start manufacturing, they collect PhDs and put them on the team. But it is actually what you should be. You should have a very, very technical team with really, really deep knowledge about distributed systems, about cryptography, and ideally with several years of experience in academia and research. I think that's kind of for us a starting point. So the first thing, just go on the team page immediately. And if there's if it's all business people, at least in our theory, it probably doesn't make sense. I think also crypto is a young person's game, right? And you might have one or two kind of researchers that are, been 10, 20 years researching in one field and they're very knowledgeable. But usually the teams are kind of, if there's a lot of people above 40 also, this is controversial, usually something seems to be off, right? And I think those are some pretty easy ways to immediately go to the team. Within 2 minutes, you can kind of figure out that something's probably not right. I think also ideally these are supposed to be projects where the founders kind of become, after 2-3 years, they become actually relevant, right? This is mostly community driven. So if you have some founders on there that call themselves the president, et cetera, and things like this, where you can really tell, okay, they're just so proud that they can give themselves a cool title now, that's probably also maybe not the best sign. That's one way we look at things, yeah.
Yeah, so for me, I'm probably going to share a little bit about how we think about the blockchain industry compared with the internet. So if you go back to 1980s or 2000, there's a bunch of projects. They're all .com, and then they can go public. Then you can see what actually left. Only the company like Cisco, Oracle, or Microsoft that they actually solving some basic infrastructure layers of problem, they survive. There are a few projects that they try to start a Uber at that time, but it doesn't make sense because you don't really have an iPhone, you don't have a location-based services, and you don't even have a 3G connection. So in compared with the blockchain now, then I think there are a few things. First, so the 3G connection in the internet, I'll think of the sharding, and I'll think of all this fast consensus mechanism that can scale the blockchain and support consumer-facing products. And if you think about iPhone is a user interface tools we don't actually have right now. Like maybe it's wallets or maybe it's a blockchain browser. It's just still coming up. And also you need to have several middle layer services, such as you want to talk with the internet, which is Oracle. You want to talk to different blockchains and connect them together, which is interoperability and cross-chain projects. And also you want to have very strong payment channels and then stable coin to support the ecosystem. So I would think of now is a good time to invest into the middle layer plus the infrastructure layer and the ecosystem. And then later on, maybe 3 years later or 5 years later, who knows, then it's a good chance to invest in the consumer-facing product that actually can decentralize and revolutionize the current big company, such as Yelp, Twitter, Facebook. That's the revolution going to happen. On the other side is on the financial services. So everyone knows that Bitcoin and Ethereum is very good for payments. Think about the traditional bank and then all the payments. It takes a long time to do the cross-border payment. But if you use Ethereum or Bitcoin, it's very, very easy. Then the financial area will be the first industry to be disrupted. So I think of different timing and then different area to invest. And then you're going to take a look at their team, their technology. You want to see the real technical improvement and the innovation in their projects. Otherwise, it's just a copy. Then it doesn't really make sense to invest. I think that's the basic structure and logic that we, invest.
Okay, actually, the criteria of BlockVC is called triple T. The first T is team. Actually, we did a lot of research and due diligence in founding team and whether they cooperate with each other for a long time and whether they have the full belief in blockchain and whether they can distinguish which is blockchain project, which is tokenization project. And also we will do a really deep technology due diligence in the team because I think it is still a technology-driven project in the blockchain ecosystem. And then the second T is called timing. Just Yubo mentioned that there are different layers in the blockchain, just like the early stage internet. And in the last 2 or 3 years, actually, many teams was focusing on the major ecosystem, which is also called the public blockchain. And I think the premium of public blockchain doesn't exist because it is very hard for new competitor to have such a wide consensus and a large community in now. And we also, so we mainly focus on the second layer is called multi-protocol, such as privacy, anonymity, security, verification, and so on. So these projects can serve different kinds of main chain, main network, and provide the distinguished service to the public chain. And the third tier is called trading, because I think the main difference between blockchain project compared to the VC or equity project is that after ICO fundraising, that the token will be listed on the crypto exchanges very soon. So the sense of secondary market and how to provide liquidity to the traders or investors in the secondary market is really important for the team and for the project. And I think if a team have the sense of secondary market, I think the project will be better than those who don't care about the secondary market. Yeah.
Okay. Talking about this question, at the first time we have to ask ourselves for one question is that what do we want from blockchain? What do we want benefit from blockchain? We believe that in the end we need a lot of dApps, but before the dApps could work, what do we need? At the very beginning, we need a public chain. So that's why Bitcoin, Ethereum, and EOS could dominate the blockchain world. But a public chain is never enough. We need a protocol layer. So that's why we have so many protocol blockchain startups recently, and we need high performance of computing, storage, and transmission, and also we need low cost. And that's why we have invested so many blockchain startups like NKN and the exchange. We have so many blockchain startups. They could solve the problem one by one. So in the end, we could achieve our goal that we have a lot of amazing dApps. But for now, we have to focus on the infrastructure building. Okay.
Yeah, thank you. And yeah, it's clear that we're definitely in the infrastructure stage of investing. So if you're trying to create a really successful crypto project, or if you're trying to find the next crypto project to invest in, what city do you think is best? A lot of my friends, they live in a suitcase, they live in hotels, they travel around the world for the past year. There have been 100x projects from Seoul. There's been 100x projects from Canada, Aeon. But really, a lot of investors are having bias for Chinese projects. Some of them honestly bias American teams because they think the developers are better or more equipped. There's all sorts of bias for cities. But yeah, where do you think is the best city to live in right now, or the best place geographically to take advantage and be networked?
For us personally, Berlin is the best city in the world because it's probably one of the biggest blockchain developer ecosystem, and so even the international projects, they all it's an ecosystem that we would like access to and that we would like to be connected to, and then there's very, very few investors. There's almost no one except for us, and so obviously that's for us. It's a good place to be. I think in this. It matters less when with startups, right? But startups, it really was like you have to be in Silicon Valley. If you can't make it to Silicon Valley, probably it's now it's Beijing and Berlin and London. I think with this in crypto, it matters less. You have fantastic teams coming out of Argentina, right? Zeppelin, Decentraland. It's a very sort of mobile place, so everybody travels a lot and connects a lot. So usually you have, so for example, also Ethereum. Most of the team is. They travel around in batches, and they have periods where they come together. They have whiteboard sessions for a couple of weeks, and then kind of everyone works again for themselves. I think though the hubs that might be coming up, it's San Francisco, it's Beijing, and it's Berlin.
I have the similar feeling. I mean, San Francisco, you can see all these top VC funds and crypto funds living there. Pantaro, Polychain, Metal Sybil, everyone is in the city. And in the Silicon Valley, we have a bunch of top and great developer communities, and then the top tech companies such as Google, Facebook, all of the talents are in here. I think of the best projects and then the technical projects maybe in this area. And then if you move your eye to, for example, in China, Beijing and Shanghai have a very strong ideas about the business innovation. We have a bunch of 100x projects in there, and most of them have very strong business innovation and also have a strong technical team. And in the Southeast Asia, such as Singapore, we have seen so many great projects such as Zilliqa or Kyber Network and maybe Bruza, a lot of top projects out of the university. And in Korea, you can see thousands of projects. They're very, very, very adopted in this market, and Japan, definitely. So in the Europe, I definitely think of Berlin. There is the Raiden network, right?
There's Raiden, there's Cosmos, there's Gnosis, there's Polkadot.
Polkadot. Parity technology. It's very, very strong. And then in London, we're seeing so many good projects as well. And maybe just. I think everywhere, I don't have a choice, like which is the best. You need to have different connections in both different cities and to capture all these unicorns.
Yeah. Actually, 19% of our portfolio is from Singapore and the US, especially San Francisco. And after that, after 1 year investment, and we summarize a rule is that we collect the innovative ideas and the technical teams in US, especially in San Francisco, and do fundraising in China, and then listed in South Korea. So this way actually can make a project better, as different kind of countries or cities, they have different kind of advantages. Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree with the previous guys talking about. And for the blockchain, at the very beginning, they are occurred to this world, and they are globally distributed. So we have some projects. Maybe they are launched in Silicon Valley, and they have to go to China, go to Singapore, Korea, and they need a lot of investors and users, and also developers from all over the world. So I believe that for blockchain startup, it's a matter of a global consensus. We have to attract a lot of funds, really funds to involved in this project. So I really suggest that every the team of the project really have to open to the globally, and try to attract the investors and developers from all over the world. Yeah.
I think maybe one point to add also is for some of these projects, there's maybe only 20 people in the world that can build this or have the relevant experience. So then 2 of them might be suitable, and they have families or somewhere, they're not going to move. So a lot of these teams are very, very distributed anyways, right? So you would register your company or foundation in Singapore, and then the team is like distributed all over the place. Yeah.
Sure. Silicon Valley, Berlin, Seoul, Singapore,
Beijing.
Yeah. Got it. Let's talk about timing and the creation of your institutions in crypto. We just heard that Andreessen Horowitz just announced a $300 million token-only crypto fund. In my eyes, that's an amazing blog post, but in my eyes, all of you guys here have been doing this for a year or longer than that, right? That's amazing, but it also comes with tremendous responsibility, I think, because all of you guys are really pioneers in this space, and it's nothing like angel investing, it's nothing like venture capital. So it's an opportunity to completely change the rules, define the rules, and change the culture of startups in general. So my question to you is, what would be maybe the culture of crypto that you would be most proud of to see in the coming years as the whole industry matures? I've definitely benefited from an attitude of paying it forward and helping each other and sharing information, and a non-competitive attitude among funds and founders. But yeah, what do you think we need culturally in order for projects and investors to succeed in the space?
Yeah, I think I've been really impressed with most people I interact with are very, very fast. So basically, it's the sentiment that there's only opportunity cost, right? And if I wait around for too long, I might sort of, I have opportunity cost. So I've been really impressed, like how quickly and how collaborative people kind of just work together. There's some comparison. Sometimes you wait for meetings with important people, it's like 3 weeks of back and forth, and it's busy, etc. And I've gotten meetings with way more important people in crypto within like hours, right? And you either have a call or you have a meeting. So there's very little mental friction to meet. I think obviously for long term, for this to be sustainable, the whole issue I think of scams and kind of non-viable projects is an issue that's really matters for all of us, because I think if the majority of people in the space believe or lose the faith in this market in general, I think that's going to be a challenge. Like I personally am not a fan of regulation. So I think what I actually see is that, what that means is that anybody can do anything, right? Anybody can try anything. But then it's actually up to us, like the community, to kind of call people out that are doing things that are, just, outright scams or cash grabs, etc. I think really that's what I see going forward for the long run, is that there's a lot more like self-regulation, self-policing from within the community to kind of make this sustainable for the long run.
Yeah.
Maybe I want to talk about from the fundraising aspect. A lot of funds that a lot of projects that they raise a huge amount of money that they actually don't need. I think in the future, people will learn to raise a very reasonable amount of capital at the initial stage, very low cap, and investor will learn to invest smaller amount to projects and to have a reasonable valuation. That is important to the entire community. And probably we want to have a healthier lockup period for the team. I actually researched on some projects. They claim that they lock up their funds, but actually they are not. The founders can take their money away and then just spend. When people have that kind of desire, then it's very hard for them to focus and to develop something that they want to do. They forgot what they're trying to do at the initial stage. So maybe we can have different stage, fundraising process, which is more like a VC style of investments and fundraising. Also on the PR and media side, it should be, the entire community should focus on the project that can create a real value to the society. Not only that they are hot or some big investor invests, then we follow. It's not a good trend. It's very important to creating some impact and then solve a problem, solid problems, and create the values to the society that should support it by other communities. So people should have more judgment, individual judgment on the projects, not just follow other people's ideas. I think that's the point, like to have a better culture in this community.
And first of all, that I think that any founder announce that they raise a lot in the market, actually, in my opinion, it's really hard to invest in this very early stage market. As actually, in 1 year, we only spent about 30 million US dollars in the market and invest about 40 projects. So if a fund want to maintain a really good performance, I think a very large fund is not very well. So if you have more fund, I think secondary market is better. So on the other hand, that actually we assess a project, or we always ask 3 questions. One is that why it is necessary to use a blockchain, and what kind of a problem will you use blockchain to solve. And this is really important because many projects they use blockchain just for issuing tokens, and it will make the fundamental business model quite different, because blockchain is still a community-driven business model. And the second thing is that the necessary that why you will issue your own token, why don't you just use Ethereum and Bitcoins instead? And this is really a crucial question, as many teams and projects can't answer this question. So they just use ICO as a fundraising way and fundraise more money from the market. And the third thing is that if you are decentralized business model and it is a community-driven way, and how will you make your consensus wider and let more people join your community? And this is also a very important question, and many projects have no idea about that. So if we want to deal with like scam and some other disadvantage of ICOs, I think this 3 questions is really important.
Actually, blockchain startup is really technical, so the investors really have to be very professional. It's not about the business model, it's about the technique, so it's pretty professional. And I have to speak. I have to say that a lot of the token fund they really don't have the ability to judge whether the project is good or not. So they have to only follow the others, and sometimes they have to invest a lot of very expensive projects only for logo list on the website. So I think it's pretty ironically is that a lot of projects they raise too much money, and that part of money is seriously it's too much money to develop their project. So they may just build another fund and to invest in another other projects. It's so ironic. So I think that it's pretty important for the token funds to build their professional ability to judge the projects, even though it's technique. You have to recruit some guy from computer science background, and just to judge whether the logic is good or not, and whether it's suitable, it's the right timing to do it or not. I know a lot of token funds. They just purely invest the apps, but it's really ironic to me that this is I don't believe this is the right timing to invest the apps, but those token funds they only invest the apps. So I think it's really serious challenge for a lot of token funds. Yeah.
Coming to the end of this panel, we only have a little bit of time left, but can you share with us one crypto project that is maybe trading or not trading yet that you're most optimistic for? I can explain one project that I really, really, really love called ChromaWay, because if you try to build dApps on Ethereum now, there's scalability issues and usability issues. Everyone has to learn Solidity. ChromaWay basically solves both those problems, and it could be a major contender in making dApps a reality. So, starting with Lasse and everyone else, one project that you really, really, really want to talk about.
Yeah, obviously there's many. I mean, every one we invest into, we're that excited about. I think maybe because they're also from Berlin, and I'm hopeful that they set the precedent for a lot of projects like this from Berlin. It's called Arweave, and it's basically a blockchain for permanent data storage with a novel concept called a BlockWeave. So you have massive blocks where all the data is stored in the blocks, but it scales and it's cheap to store it. It also, they launched their mainnet basically at the anniversary of Hitler burning books, so it's something that will never make it able again to destroy knowledge ever in the world. They were also good technical founders, and they were very modest. They only raised 9 million, coming back to what he was saying, like you only need to raise the money that you actually need, not more.
Yeah, we invest a lot. Maybe just a recent project called fcoin.com. This is an exchange that allows people to mine. We invest in the early stage, so we help those projects to grow, and then we learn that their ideas and then their token model. It's very, very interesting. Essentially, so before that, exchanges like Binance, they issue a token called BNB. They use 20% of their revenue, profit to burn the token and then buy it back on the open market. For Fcoin, they create a new model that people will earn. When people have a transaction fees and commissions, they will get 100% F token rebate. And after they get the FTs, they will get dividends from the entire trading, entire profit of that date. And the way that they share is they only share the circulating supply of the token. So it means that the early investors wouldn't get any dividends. It's not, so it would be very fair for the new miners to come into this place. And essentially they are creating an open platform where anyone can trade and then can benefit from that. So now like a lot of existing players are worried about that. OK and Binance launched their own technical platform that allow other people to start mining exchange. And then there are a few exchanges such as BitZ and even other big ones like Bitbox. They start their own like mining exchange. It's a very big wave in China. A lot of people compete in this space. I can see like hundreds of similar models coming up. So that's the project I want to share a little bit.
Yeah. Recently we invested DXChain, and I think the most interesting is that they use a new structure. Is called they compare 3 different kinds of chain together. One is for transaction, one is for storage, one is for cloud computing. And yeah, and actually the technology background of this project is really good, and they have delivered a lot of code and MVP and testnet and in the project, and I think the way that the combination of different functionality chains together is a new way or a next step that many other blockchain will follow. As I think for the main chain, as if the main chain is really simple, I think it will more effective. Yeah.
Yeah, recently I just have a luck to get in touch with a team, and they have working on a project named Blackwater Protocol. And maybe we all know that there are HTTP, but few of them know HTTPS, which is the security solution of internet. And this team, they are just working on the security solution on blockchain. And I've checked the white paper, and they have really clear mind about how to figure it out. They have improved over almost everything, the consensus mechanism and the security protocol of storage, transparency, and computing, and they have almost improved everything about the security on blockchain. And I think this project is going to the market maybe next month, and I strongly recommend you guys to keep an eye on this project. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, everyone. We're out of time, but really insightful panel, and thanks so much again to the event organizers for making this happen.
Thank you.